Good morning, everybody. I could not resist making this video. This came from Made for Minds. Happiness is a warm sonic weapon. Sound is a powerful device. It's used in war to disorient the enemy, and in cities to hold back protesters or disperse loitering teenagers. Plus, it's media friendly. So is sonic weaponry better than a... Oh, look at that. I guess that would be a, I guess I call like, frequency guns or something. I guess that's what that's supposed to be. Anyways, let's read on. We are swimming in sound. It's everywhere. Virtually impossible to escape. Ask yourself when you last heard silence. And I mean absolute silence. See what I mean? Even when I close my eyes, press my ears shut, and think it's oh so quiet, like Bjork in a yellow dress, I can still hear the blood pumping through my temples like a dull but incessant alarm. Our ears and brains are in receive mode 24/7, whether we like it or not. Sometimes we can't even hear the sounds, though we still feel them. And that's why sound, in all of its variations, is such a darned effective tool. It's a warning, a non-lethal weapon, a call to arms, and a call to mind, the closing doors. I'm going to read that again. It's a warning, a non-lethal weapon, a call to arms, and a call to mind, the closing doors. We respond to these signals, even if we choose to ignore them, especially when they are loud. But why? Well, first we're talking about 110 to 120 decibels, says Peter Ludwig, managing director at Standby Pinch BAMAG, which makes acoustic warning devices for law enforcement in public transportation. That's why they're effective. And then there's the recognition value. We recognize certain signals as telling us certain things. That's also why German emergency services has stuck with the 2-ton Martinshorn signal, even though the American Yelp sirens covers a much broader frequency range and can be heard by more people, even those with some hearing loss. Run, baby, run. Some warning signals are used less to help us than intimidate us. They are louder or have a higher decibel range. They emit sound with much forces and that at painful frequencies. They are known euphemistically as non-lethal weapons. I think they're pretty lethal. Okay? And they should be considered lethal, considering what they can do to you. But we've all heard of fates worse than death, and that may be why long-range acoustic devices, LRAD, as used by the Israeli Defense Force against protesters and by U.S. police for crowd control. Wow, I didn't know this. Did you? They may well be non-lethal in quotes, but there's no pretending they're harmless. They can cause physical sickness and other pain. Our ears and those of our animals are incredibly sensitive. They have to be sensitive to pick up warning sounds, like rumblings in the jungle. The mechanical energy in natural sounds is unbelievably small. A blade of grass weighs almost nothing. And so for our ears to do the job they were designed to do, they have to be shockingly sensitive, says Jan Schnupp, a professor in neuroscience at Oxford and Hong Kong City University. And that in turn makes our ears very vulnerable. If you have sound sources that are incredibly intense, like a jackhammer, a rock concert, or a jet engine takeoff, or in my case, the sound of plastic, continues Schnupp, they will simply overload this mechanical system and break it. And they can break it permanently. The point of pain. A German company called PKI makes an acoustic warning device that immobilizes everyone approaching you nearer than 200 meters with a directed audio signal that attains an absolute threshold of pain. The PKI website says they offer a range of anti-terror equipment which is easier for government departments to find and purchase directly. Which says it all. And that's just as well, because PKI's managing director, Peter Cluyer, declined to comment on record. Why wouldn't you want to talk about the PKI 7430? Isn't it legal? I asked an assistant at the company. Oh, they're legal, she replied, but they're mainly for the foreign market. Look at this. Wow, okay, let's read more. I'm left wondering why we use sound when it's legal, no matter how we feel about the justice of it all. For some law enforcement agencies and armies to use force and in war to kill people. It's very media friendly, isn't it? If you think about the effects of what are called non-lethal weaponry, then you can't capture that on film, on newsreels, in photographs, in newspapers, says Dr. Toby Hayes, Future Technologies Research Center leader in Manchester Metropolitan University. Seeing a child or an adult being hit by a baton and blood coming out of their body or head or whatever is a very arresting image and often very detrimental to the attempts of the police force or military or whoever is trying to control the certain aspect of society, says Hayes. Okay, so that's the long-range acoustic device which are used to ward off pirates on the high seas and against civilians in the cities. Damn. Okay. Cochlea controversy. Over at the U.S. State Department, however, top officials have found an earful of credence in a story that many auditory experts, including Hayes, doubt is true. As of October 3rd, the State Department says 22 U.S. diplomatic staff at the U.S. Embassy in Havana, Cuba, are medically confirmed to have experienced health effects due to alleged sonic attacks, probably transmitted via telephone headsets. Staff were initially said to have suffered brain damage, vertigo, hearing loss, and later an inability to recall certain words. The U.S. State Department says 22 of its diplomatic staff have suffered health issues since the attacks in late 2016. Okay. The details are very sketchy at best. Investigators are unable to determine who or what is causing these attacks. But since first word of the case surfaced in August, there's been all manner of diplomatic fluttery and speculation. Some have even speculated the attacks were inaudible. And that's got auditory experts in a fizz, because they say that's just not possible. Everyone who's been interviewed on this is on the same page. And at the moment, I don't think anybody knows of any technologies that could produce the effects that have been talked about by the U.S. State Department, says Hayes. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Quotes, everyone who's been interviewed on this is on the same page. And at the moment, I don't think anybody knows of any technologies, okay, that could produce the effects that have been talked about by the U.S. State Department. Sounds of sickness. The notion of an inaudible sonic attack is not total fantasy, however, as lower bass frequencies known as infrasound can make you feel nauseous without your necessarily hearing them. You'd still feel something visceral, though, or hear your surroundings shake. But even then, it's hard to see how it could cause damage to the structures of the inner ear, says Schnupp. They are designed to register sounds, and if they don't register the sounds, it's because the sounds aren't having any effect. You know, you can't overload nerve cells if you don't put out a, don't put a load on it. If you don't put a load on them. So, look at that. Noise exposure of any duration at this level is dangerous. This level here, hearing protection required. Okay. Schnupp says the idea of an inaudible sound weapon that causes damage to the inner ear incredibly contrived. It's pretty implausible, agrees Hayes. Infrasound is also very difficult to direct. Boy, I hope this article changes directions. Ultrasound that's above 20,000 hertz is very directional, but infrasound is non-directional because its natural propensity is to spread out and through walls. Everybody around would feel the same thing. But alas, not everyone in Nirvana did feel the same thing. I mean, if you were to take a person and anesthetize them, bolt their head down and focus some ultrasound energy from specialized loudspeakers to pinpoint some point, then sure, says Schnupp. But, if you've already pinned them down like this, why not stick in the needle? Alright. From Jericho to teens. One of the earliest stories of sound as a weapon is the Israelites' attack on the walls of Jericho. Okay, good. We're back on track with this article. Thank you. Okay, let me start over. Background noise. One of the earliest stories of sound as a weapon is the Israelites' attack on the walls of Jericho. It's said they blew their trumpets as they marched around the city, and the walls came tumbling down. But the biblical tale is often disputed, much like the current U.S.-Cuba affair. Perhaps the most pernicious use of sound is when they deployed militarily in psychological operations, PSYOPs, to disorient the enemy, such as in Operation Wandering Soul. Wow, I'm going to have to check that one out. Operation Wandering Soul. Okay, so PSYOPs is a curious field of work that spans deception tactics to torture. If you're interested in working in PSYOPs, your duties may include loudspeaker systems, state-of-the-art computers, analog and digital recording and playback devices, according to a job advertised at GoArmy.com. And if that's accurate, a death metal playlist may well be a competitive advantage. Hang on. Alright, so I'm going to play this. This is the sound, Operation Wandering Soul, that was used during Vietnam War. Listen to this. Get my microphone out of the way. Well, that was pretty damn creepy. Alright? You tell me, you just heard that. How'd that make you feel? Did that sound give you warm, fuzzy feeling inside? No. Man, it made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. So where was I? So PSYOPs is a curious field of work that spans deception tactics to torture. That was torture. Okay. Sound weaponry is not merely for traditional war zones, though. It's also deployed in urban settings to control loitering teenagers. The Mosquito Teen deterrent device has been used in the UK for about 10 years. Wow! By shop owners, homeowners, local authorities, and McDonald's. Wow. McDonald's, huh? It emits a piercing, buzzing tone that only teenagers can hear. 17 kilohertz? Okay. Adults lose the ability to hear the frequency as our ears change shape when we age. But teenagers can still hear them. So for them, it's very annoying, says Hayes. The Mosquito device is sold by Compound Security Systems, a company that is very keen to stress it abides by international human rights legislation. But despite agreeing to an interview, all I got to hear after 9 attempts on the phone was my interviewee absent-mindedly singing "It's Such a Perfect Day" before I said "hello," and he snapped back to reality and hung up. I've tried a further 5 times, but never again did I hear his dulcet tones. Fortunately, the kids have an answer for this kind of technology: subversion. Yep. subversion. Teenagers will often use very high frequencies on their cell phones so that when they're in classrooms, for example, they can hear when they receive a message, but the teacher can't, because the teacher can't perceive that frequency range, says Hayes. It's a lot less insidious than things like mosquito, which is a form of geographic and territorial warfare. Whoa, guys. Anyway, that was interesting. Alright, well, thank you everybody for watching. Mind your frequencies, okay? You know, I'm having to do that. What I do is I have little notes all over my house. Little notes that, reminder notes that say controlled frequencies. Remember controlled frequencies. I have them all over my house. So when I start to feel kind of weird, kind of off, not right, I'm having to train myself to recognize that I might be being attacked by frequencies. Alright, everybody. Heads up. Lots of love. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. And remember, happiness is a warm sonic weapon. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play some of this.